wrapping up our trip to Indianapolis with day 5 at the 2018 NFL Combine. Today is all about defense. We heard from the defensive linemen and linebackers yesterday, and today we'll see them work out at Lucas Oil Stadium. Coming up, we'll break down which defensive guys could interest the Lions en road to the draft. Hello and welcome to Road to the Draft at the 2018 NFL Combine presented by Southeast Michigan Ford Dealers. I'm Tori Petry here at the Indiana Convention Center where all of the media action is happening this week. Things are winding down here at the Combine with just about a day and a half left of workouts. Today should be an interesting day for the Lions though because it's all about the defensive line and linebackers. Bob Quinn said after the season he felt like he could have done a better job building the defense and he'll have another go at it this offseason. With Ziggy Ansah on the franchise tag, we know he's in place for 2018, but what about long term? We don't know whether Haloti Ngata will be back this year. So it seems the defensive line could be in focus for the Lions this year. And a few of the draft's defensive linemen are familiar with the Lions' new coaching staff. They weighed in on defensive coordinator Paul Pasqualoni and defensive line coach Bo Davis, as well as talked about what they feel like they bring to the NFL level. Take a look.
That man is such a great coach, it's ridiculous. Like he pays so much close attention to the small details every single day, and as the days add up, they're going to be able to see the process, the progress in their defense, and I think they're going to be a great defense. He plays so much of a role in my development as a player. It's crazy, and not just on the field, in the classroom. Like he turned me into a student of the game. I learned so much with him, and just being in the meeting room and learning like the art of football and like at my position. And it just like changed my whole mindset, my whole approach to the game and what I need to do to carry myself as a professional and the amount of work that it takes to actually come into the game on game day knowing that you're about to dominate your opponent because the preparation you put in throughout the week was just so critical.
Bo made me a better player. You know, he believed in me, and you know, working with him, he helped refine my technique, which, you know, I'm still pretty raw, but, you know, I was a little raw before. I think I'm real violent. You know, I think that's a real attribute that I have.
What are the teams asking about your leave of absence last year? What do you tell them?
I tell them the real. I tell them that was my biggest adversity. I went through it and I passed that, and I'm looking forward. I'm coachable. I'm a people's person, a loving, caring guy. I got a good smile. You know. They respond in a good way. I surprise a lot of them because a lot of them don't know what happened. And I tell them what happened and tell them what I played a part in, and yeah, they surprised when they blown away after the interview.
Why did you leave the program?
No comment.
Whole thing I thought when he played for the Ravens, you know, he was outstanding down there. You know, obviously when he made that transition to Detroit, he did great over there. You know, he continued to shine. So over at Washington, you know, you can put on the film. You know, we played all across the line. You know, it wasn't one specific position that we were assigned to. You know, if it was a D-line job or a D-line position, you know, we were playing it as a D-lineman. You just had to, you know, put your hand in the dirt and just go out there and chase the quarterback around. You could tell John Ross and Adidas I'm coming for the island.
I love that little comment from Vita Vea there about John Ross and the 40, obviously a reference to John Ross breaking the 40 record here at the Combine last year. I'm joined right now by Tim Twentyman from DetroitLions.com to kind of break down this defensive line class. A lot of people saying maybe the Lions go with a defensive end, maybe even a defensive tackle in the first round. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I can certainly see that comment that he made. John Ross is safe. Vita went
He
went 5'1" in the 40 this morning. So
close.
He's but that's 347-pound man, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, you know, you mentioned it off the top with Ziggy Ansah. You don't know his long-term future. Haloti Ngata is a free agent. Those are two huge pieces to this defensive line. And even a guy like Haloti, if he's signed, he's 34 years old. So I think you got to start thinking long-term, you know, next to a guy like A'Shawn Robinson, who you're trying to build around too on the interior there. So, you know, Vita Vea is a guy that I really love, you know, at number 20 if he's there. 347 pounds. He reminds me of Haloti when Haloti was coming out. You know, he's a big guy. He can play nose tackle if you're running a 3-4, but he's athletic enough and shifty enough to shift over and do the 3 technique in a 4-3 if you need to, and that's the kind of versatility. Look, when Matt Patricia's talking about being multiple and wanting to do a lot of different things, well, you need guys that can do a lot of different things, and when you look at the interior, Vita Vea is one of those guys to me.
Certainly, and he talked about Haloti Ngata in his session. You guys heard that soundbite, guy he looks up to in the league. Now, let's get to some of these other guys. Todd McShay, we watched that interview on our live stream a couple of days ago. He mentioned Arden Key maybe falling to the second round if the Lions maybe go with the running back on day one, go address the defensive line on day two. But he's a guy who has had a little bit of off-the-field issues, and that might be an issue for the Lions.
Yeah, teams will have to do their homework on him. He obviously left, their program there for 4 months, had shoulder surgery, and then returned, and had a good year. But I think the inconsistencies there and some of the off-the-field issues, these teams do their homework on that kind of stuff, and they'll have a good idea on Arden Key. But just in terms of his talent, he certainly fits. He's long, he's athletic, he's got terrific bend, speed, so he can get around the edge, and he's a guy there that could possibly fit. Another guy who could do some different things. He can stand up from a 2-point and rush standing up. He can also put his hand in the dirt. He did both. So an interesting one, but there's got to be some homework done on a guy like that.
Yeah, let's talk about those other two guys, and guys that are quite familiar with the Lions' new coaching staff, Harold Landry and Marcus Davenport there. They've got some familiarity with Paul Pasqualoni and Bo Davis. What do you think of those two versatile guys?
I really like Davenport. I think if he's there at 20, I think you got to take a long, hard look at him. He's 6'5", 264 pounds, and he ran a 4.59 40 this morning. That was moving.
Wow.
He was also second in that 10-yard split, and that's really where you look at in the not so much the 40-yard dash for defensive linemen, but that 10-yard split. How quick is their get off? And he was very good in that aspect too. Harold Landry was very good there too. But look, he's got size, speed. He reminds me a lot of Ziggy Ansah in terms that he's a raw prospect, but athletically, he ran faster here than Ziggy ran back in 2013. He's jumped higher. He's got more athletic traits, and Ziggy's one of the most athletic guys in the NFL.
Yeah.
And so, he's a prospect that's very, very interesting. When you talk about Harold Landry, 6'2", 250 pounds, he's a little bit small, but he put his hand in the dirt, and he was a 4.3, edge down rusher in college. He also stood up a little bit. So again, when we talk about being multiple and position versatility, there's a guy in Harold Landry that can put his hand in the dirt, run a 4.3, stand up in a 3.4, do a lot of different things. He led the nation with 16.5 sacks in 2016. Again, like we talked about with Arden Key, terrific edge, first step, and being able to get low and get around, tackles. He's terrific in that aspect, and so he's a guy that could certainly fit too. There's some guys that I like that could be there at number 20 that the Lions will certainly think about.
And he talked about Paul Pasqualoni with high praise. He
that's a good point
really likes him, and talked about how he is just one of the greatest coaches, and he would love reuniting with him in Detroit. So definitely a name to keep an eye on there.
Well, there's some familiarity there too. I think the Lions have an edge there in terms of they know exactly what they're getting in Harold Landry, how he fits into their defense because of Pasqualoni being on the staff.
Certainly. Well, you mentioned their position versatility and how a couple of those guys are more edge players. And we also heard from the linebackers yesterday, including UCF linebacker Shaq Griffin, who had his hand amputated at the age of 4 because of a birth defect and still put up 20 bench press reps yesterday. Truly an amazing story. We heard from him as well as some other guys at the linebacker position. Here they are.
When I first got to training, I remember I did like 11 reps. And usually when you go to guys that, who can actually bench a lot and, they go to training, they might add like 3 or 4 reps to their actual max. I think I had more than 3 or 4 reps to my actual max. And, just being able to do that, it was amazing. And hearing the crowd and had the juices flowing, I felt it. I should have had them slap my back before I went. But I don't need all that. But it felt good to do that many reps. I didn't know I had it in me, but it came out today. That was I got to that my freshman year of UCF. I remember we went to go, get it, fit it for me, and I remember after I started lifting weights, I remember I couldn't barely bench the bar. I'm shaking all over the place. The bar falling. I'm like, man, I can't lift 45 pounds, but it just goes to show how much work I put in to get to this point. From shaking the bar, I remember I did my first pull-up. My mom seen me do my first pull-up my freshman year. She's an emotional person, so she started crying a little bit. I'm happy, but she cried and walked out. I was like, you gotta let her be sometimes. She does that. But, it's amazing to see how far I came from not being able to bench the bar to throwing up 20 reps on 225 and be able to compete with the best here.
I feel like I can have a tremendous impact on the defense just with my playmaking ability, my leadership qualities, and everything that I possess as just a football player on and off the field. I feel like that'll definitely elevate any defense. Great teams that have great defensive players, they're more so at the linebacker position. Linebacker is huge. You know, you take control of the defense. You know, pretty much most of the time are the leaders of the defense, and you pretty much have to make a lot of plays and all of the checks for a defense. And I think that definitely very good linebackers can definitely elevate defenses.
So I eventually made the big move my junior year in the spring. And ever since then, man, I've been, playing inside linebacker. But Coach Saban, he put a lot of time in me just kind of, getting some extra film work in. As a matter of fact, I was getting film in probably after each practice just to kind of speed up the learning curve so I could, play in the fall. And once I started doing that, I just kept doing the same thing headed into my senior year.
The NFL now, it's a different game. So a lot of teams are looking at guys that can play different positions. So, I let them, decide that thing. I just try to perform the best way I can, put on film the best me. So, whichever way they see me playing, I'm comfortable with that. I would adjust to it. I feel like I'm just a playmaker. Whatever they want to put me at, I feel like I can make plays. So, it'll be up to them. And then, hopefully I can help the team out. Hopefully I can be an impact to the team.
Thankfully, I went to school, Georgia. Our defense prepared me for everything. I can do a 3-4 outside linebacker or 4-3 defensive end. I just want to get after a passer. I want to be a pass rusher, get back to my roots, go get some sacks.
Tim, we heard from Matt Patricia about how he wants to build from the ball out and how they really like Jared Davis. What do you think that means for how they approach the linebacker position in this draft?
I'd put Jalen Reese-Maben in that mix too. I think they like him as well. We'll see what happens with Tahir Whitehead in free agency, but it's a position of need, especially if you're going to do some of those 3-4 concepts. And you're going to, base everything starting point at the linebacker position. Jared Davis is a pretty good place to start. I think he's going to be really good, and that experience he got as a rookie was terrific for him.
Yeah.
But you need some other guys there too, and so you need to build some depth at linebacker. And so, I think certainly at 20 we'll see with a guy like, Tremaine Edwards, if he's there, or Rashaan Evans, or, Lorenzo Carter from Georgia. Some of those guys could fit at number 20, but I think certainly in day 2 and certainly in day 3 you'll see them start to build some linebacker depth as well. Patricia really values the position coming from the Patriots organization.
Exactly, and that's where he coached at the position level. He coached the linebacker position for a good bit of time, so I think he probably knows what he's looking for in terms of linebackers. And if you look at free agency as well, a couple of the line's reserve linebackers are hitting free agency, Nick Bellore and Paul Warlow as well. So you've got to look at what you're building in terms of depth and not just starters.
Right. Yeah, that's certainly, and when Matt Patricia stepped into the defensive side of the football over in New England, 2006 to 2010, was coaching linebackers, like you said. Look, he had guys like Vrabel and Bruschi and Junior Seau. Those were defenses that, they were built around that linebacker position in New England. He knows the value of that spot, and he was pretty glowingly talked about, Jared Davis. I like him. Bob Quinn likes him. I think everybody should like the fact that how much he played as a rookie, just the experience that he got and where he's trending. But again, it's not just one guy at that linebacker position. You've got to have 3, 4, sometimes even 5 guys that can manage that position depending on, what kind of scheme you're running and some of the sub packages.
Sure, and it may be relevant to the Lions, it may not, but I think some team is going to end up drafting Shaq Griffin, and that's going to be a fun story to watch.
My favorite player in this draft. Maybe not just for, his ability, athletic ability, but just his story.
Yeah.
And, he always walks to the podium with a smile. He's a terrific interview. He did 20 on the bench press yesterday.
Amazing.
With the prosthetic piece that goes along his left hand, and he's just a terrific story. And I talked to him at the Senior Bowl. I did a story there on him, and he just talked about being a role model for guys that maybe have disabilities. And he said it's only a disability if you let it be a disability. So he's a terrific story for young kids who may have been told they can't do something. Well, Shaq Griffin here is proving that you can do anything you set your mind to.
I love it. And with that, we will wrap up our 5 days of live shows here at the Combine. We thank you guys so much for tuning in to Road to the Draft Live here at the Combine, presented by Southeast Michigan Ford Dealers. We've had a blast putting it on. We hope that you've had a blast watching as well. Remember that the draft is still on NFL Network today and tomorrow, so you can watch all of the drills happening there. Stay tuned because we might have more of these coming your way during the off season. Thanks, guys, for watching. For DetroitLions.com, I'm Tori Petry.